Hello, everyone, and welcome to Game Masters, a show where we want to showcase off different types of runs that maybe not traditionally speedrun, but very interesting showcase of skill in games nonetheless. Today, we're going to be showing off Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and we're going to be getting into that in just a minute after a couple announcements. So SGDQ 2020 Online is happening August 16th to the 23rd. The games list and schedule is out. In addition to that, prize submissions are open from now until August 2nd. So if you'd like to provide some meme props to send, go to gamesdonequick.com for information about prize submissions as well as info on the games list and schedule. If you're interested in other Hotfix shows, you can go to gamesdonequick.com/hotfix to submit games or ideas for upcoming shows. And this Monday, we're going to be starting off Ocean Week, which is a week highlighting a partnership with the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And we're going to have an endless sea of water-themed speedruns. So that is going to be pretty exciting as well. And we are going to have a nice splash of runs, and that is going to be starting off with Splatoon 2 Insane Aquarium and Subnautica on Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So be sure to check out all of that stuff. But enough about that. We're here for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I'm joined with Pianist 15, along with Amber CXC and MK Jacob. So I am going to hand it off to Pianist to introduce both the commentators and the run. How are you?
All right. Hello. I'm doing very well. So I am here to run all 48 tracks in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe here. I'm joined with Amber and Jacob, two fellow runners who will be commentating.
Hello.
So, yeah, I'll let them introduce themselves maybe a bit more, and then the run also.
Yeah, so I'm Amber CXC. I run this game, or at least I used to a month ago. And Jacob?
Yep, I'm Jacob. I started playing this game by speedrunning it in 200cc. I've gotten more involved in other parts of the game, including time trials and the competitive community after that. Speedrunning is always going to be in my heart, though. So,
yeah,
nice.
Yep. I just do speedrunning. I don't do the competitive side as much.
All right.
Do you want to get started?
Yeah, sure thing.
So this is going to be all 48 tracks of the game. We're going to be starting not on the first track of Mushroom Cup, but a specific track, and I'll have Jacob explain that.
Yeah, so instead of starting on Mario Kart Stadium, which is the first track in the game, we're actually going to be starting on N64 Rainbow Road, which is the last track in the Lightning Cup. It might seem a little bit strange that we're starting there. It's basically because
in versus race.
Track, yeah. In
versus race,
in a versus race, you're going to start in last place with 5 coins. That happens no matter what track you start on. This is important for N64 Rainbow Road because over the course of the track, on 200cc, you won't actually pick up 10 coins. They're placed down by a train, which you're too fast for the cycle on 200cc, so you wouldn't get up to 10. And it's important to get up to 10 because the more coins you have, the higher your top speed is. So it's actually giving you maybe a 3-second advantage to start here instead of the first track in the game.
Indeed, yes.
Great.
And then the other thing that I'll be doing, is holding ZL at the start, which it controls the Animal Crossing season later on. We'll talk about that more once we get there, though. And I think we're about ready to start now. So without further ado, let's start in 3, 2, 1, go. All right.
Awesome.
Right. So starting out here, I was actually looking at the preview screen to see which side that the first boost panel will be on. In this case, it was the left, so I'll head over there.
Yeah, so these boost panels that you can see right here, they can either go left, right, middle, or right, left, middle. That's an RNG thing. So you can look at the preview screen to see which side it'll be on before you're actually driving. And like we mentioned before, you see that he has 6 coins instead of 1 coin, because he's only picked up 1 coin so far, but you start with 5 because it's the first track.
Yeah, there are only a couple of coins that you can pick up on this track, so this is how you can get up to 10.
Yep.
And having 10 coins is faster than having no coins.
Indeed.
Okay, so you can see that he got up to 10. Again, if this wasn't the first track, he would only be on 5 coins right now.
And there are no more coins, so
yeah,
good
he would be getting about half the coin advantage if he didn't start on this track.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that strategy, it's pretty basic. Just drive through it, no big tricks here.
Yeah. Yoshi Circuit, on the other hand, is a lot more fun.
This track is a nightmare.
It's a lot.
There is a lot of stuff going on. It's very, very fast. So there are 2 very large shortcuts that happen right away at the beginning of the track. I'm just gonna just watch.
Yeah, you're gonna see what it is.
Through the waterfall.
Yeah, so you can just jump over that. That's what we call a no-item shortcut, which everyone just calls a NISC. There's a ton of them in this game. There's actually 2 of them on this track. We're gonna do the second one.
Here's the other. Through the Piranha.
Mini one driving over that grass there too. I don't know if that counts as a NISC though, or more just tight line.
You know what?
I just call it a cut.
We'll call
it
fair.
There's another cut you can do on the track.
Both times, all 3 laps on this track, which makes it really inconsistent and hard.
Oh yeah. The Piranha Plant cut is pretty dependent on the angle that your cart is facing as you're going off the hill. That kind of determines whether or not you actually get air or if you end up hitting the Piranha.
Yeah, so in other words, the important part of that cut isn't the actual cut itself, it's the corner right before it. So you're going to see Pianist releasing his drifts at a really specific time so that he has the best angle that he can for that.
I just realized I'm on 4 coins now. Jeez. Pay more attention to that.
The coin collection on Yoshi Circuit is actually fairly tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something that we could mention, we can save it for a little bit later, because Excite Bike Arena actually has some stuff worth talking about.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, so now we're going to go to my least favorite track in the game, Excite Bike Arena.
Also my least favorite track in the game.
I don't think that's a very unpopular opinion.
So this track is random, but it's not entirely random. If you know how Excite Bike, or if you know how the game Excite Bike works, it's a series of ramps, and these ramps are chunked out into like little chunks in Mario Kart 8, and they are placed in the map in a random order, and some of them are omitted and some of them are not. You see some of them every single time, no matter what, like the ramps that go left, right, and then a solid one afterwards. And in addition to that randomness, there is also the mud piles on the U-turn, the hairpin turns. Those can either be starting on the outside or starting on the inside, and then the other one will be mirrored. And so all of that ends up just being... Yeah, it's just a ton of randomness, and it's not particularly fun. And in addition to that, the goal to go fast for this track is to minimize your airspeed, or your air time. It's important to be traveling forward, and when you trick and when you go on these ramps, they send you up as well as forward, and you want to be pushing as much forward as possible, so staying on the ground is more important. The airspeed difference and land speed difference is not as relevant so much as like the direction your car is moving in 3D space.
Yep, but even the trick boost isn't quite enough to compensate for the slow air time, so yep, just avoid as many ramps as possible there. Mm-hmm. That was a pretty decent pattern. It wasn't terrible, but nothing special either.
Yeah, that's pretty much average as far as Excite Bike goes. It's pretty hard to drive it slowly. It really just depends on what pattern you get.
Mm-hmm. Dragon Gateway is very fun, has a couple really cool NISCs.
Yes.
And a really fun coin route, in my opinion. Getting all the coins on this track is a good challenge.
I'm going to try to go for these 2 here.
I believe in you.
Oh, got him. Nice.
Nice.
Very good.
There's a little bit of a delay on our feed, so you said
okay, yeah. Well, I
did have a little bit of a wall monster, which made him go wide, but it also let him pick up more coins, so I wouldn't really call that a huge time loss.
For sure.
But yeah, that NISC at the beginning of the lap, you can just drift over that corner on 200cc. Please don't try that on 150cc. If you try it on 150cc, you're just going to fall. You need to actually hop over it.
Yeah, it's a lot more challenging there. Still doable, but hard.
Yeah. But yeah, like most tracks in this game, it's going to be the same stuff for laps 2 and 3, except Pianist can take tighter lines because he doesn't have to worry about coins anymore. So he picked up 10 on the first lap.
Exactly.
And while we're at it, we're having a couple questions in chat here. People typically play Mario Kart with items on.
Yes,
can you describe the what's going on here with no items?
Torture of items.
So
versus race, you can turn them off. We would like to go fast. Items slow us down.
Yeah. Turning on items in a speedrun of this game basically turns it from a display of lines and skill into a display of who can grind the longest for longest good luck.
Yeah.
So the proper speedrun with items turns into just grinding for good RNG, whereas running without items, you're focusing on your skill and your driving skill, and things get more competitive that way. And it's the way that Mario Kart has kind of the speedrunning community has shifted away from items and towards no items in the last several years.
There still are categories of items, but not so many people run them.
Not many people run them at the top level.
But I generally run them until I get my goal time, and then I just stop because I don't enjoy it.
And because no items is such a skill-based category and has basically no RNG, something you'll see a lot in this community is you'll see someone come in from the time trial community, do one speedrun, and completely obliterate the world record, which is something... Yeah. It happened about a year ago with a guy named Doodle, absolute legend, love that guy.
Yeah,
Doodle's awesome.
It took almost a full year for Pianist to get the world record back in this category.
Yep.
I still haven't gotten my Egg Cup record back from him.
Oh yeah, I don't know that that's ever being beaten. It was a very good time there.
6:59.
My best time is still 4 seconds off of that.
I got a low 7:02. That's the best I've done.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're talking about Doodle while Pianist is doing touchless Mute City shortcuts. This shortcut is incredible. Mute City is one of the F-Zero tracks, and the F-Zero tracks have reduced gravity. And because of that reduced gravity, you can float through this one section without the use of a mushroom.
Yeah, so let's actually point out the hard
right here.
He's just going to hop right over this mud patch, never touch it, and just hold back on the controller so you can just fly through the air straight to the finish.
Yep, and this is the world record holder, yes, button fly.
Yes. Only by about half a second. But hopefully
so
I will break it soon again.
All of Egg Cup, as well as N64 Rainbow Road, so this will be the 6th track.
Here's Wario's Gold Mine. This track is going to look real smooth, hopefully. And it's a good time to talk about, I'm not sure if we have a name for it yet, but light drifting?
Yeah, that's kind of what we like to call it.
If you play this game a lot, and you may get used to wiggling the analog stick a lot when you're in a drift, but that actually slows you down. So it's important during the speedrun to kind of keep your analog stick in one position, and in addition to that, not necessarily be all the way to the right or all the way to the left, because going all the way to the right or left will slow you down, in addition to just the movement of the stick.
Holding the stick all the way to the right and left, yeah.
So these turns are going to be a little bit looser, but they're going to be faster.
And according to Vike in the chat, who is someone I trust with game knowledge, it's called neutral stick drifting. Thank you, Vike.
Okay. Yes, Vike is amazing.
And Alex, it's actually not soft drifting we're talking about. We're going to talk about that later, don't worry.
Soft drifting is a slightly different mechanic.
But yeah, other than that strategy of drifting, this is a pretty basic track. There's no big shortcuts to take.
Okay.
Okay. There was a delay. I was really hoping you didn't fall off there.
Yeah, my reaction would have been maybe bigger. I don't know. Oh man, that was very close.
That was a really close call with the CPUs, and it's a good time to talk about the fact that CPUs kind of suck because they're really slow on 200cc, so you lap them on lap 3.
Yeah,
and we're playing on the hardest. We're playing on the hardest difficulty, and they're still, they are the only major source of RNG. This is a good track to talk about global cycles.
Yes.
Sure.
So, SNES Rainbow Road is on a global cycle. It starts. These thwomps are on a global cycle. They will land. The left one lands right there at the same time every single time when you start the track. And because of that, we can make this track incredibly consistent if we can keep ourselves on the fastest cycle.
Yes, and this is going to be true for basically every single track that has moving parts. They either have one cycle that they take every single time, or they have a set of like 2 or 3 cycles that they take.
Yep.
So because of that, we can know exactly where every single object is going to be on every single lap, so we can maneuver around them in the best possible way.
This is flawless so far, by the way, Pianist.
Very nice. Thank you. Yeah. I hope.
Like that lap 2, that end of lap 2 was chef's kiss.
Yes. Okay. Here, I watch out for the CPUs. Thankfully, none of them bump me there, but that can be a problem spot.
Yes, for sure.
That thwomp, if you're too fast, can also be an issue, but it was fine. Yeah. Very nice. Ah.
All right. Yeah, so we're having a pretty good start so far. No major mistakes, which is great to see.
I'm very happy with this. Bonus, which is the set of the first 16 tracks here, is
Do
very
you do the
difficult.
shortcut on this track?
I don't.
Then in that case, this track is fairly boring, and it's a good time to talk about the cart and the build decisions and stats. So we are playing with a heavyweight character, Roy. He's not the heaviest character, but he's one of the heaviest characters. And he loses when weight is generally relative to your top speed. So Roy has a pretty high top speed, but not the absolute highest top speed. And he has a little bit of acceleration and, more importantly, mini turbo. That's the other stat that we're building for, is the drifting stat. So our cart, Bitty Buggy, our roller tires, and there are a couple of different gliders. I don't remember which one Pianist is using.
I have paper, but yeah.
Paper glider. Yep, one of the acceleration
There's like 4
gliders.
that are identical. Yeah.
Yep, and they all add to your mini turbo stat. But we're getting all of our speed from the character, because characters influence speed more than the cart does.
Yeah. So if you wanted to focus more on mini turbo, you could go for a lighter character with a combo similar to this. For example, there's a few time trial world records that use baby characters on the Bitty Buggy, which is basically lowest possible top speed, highest possible mini turbo stat. So you're going to see like snake drifting with those. There's also time trial world records that use super heavyweight characters with really high speed vehicles. I'm thinking tracks like Wario's Gold Mine, where there's not a lot of turns, so you just want to have as much speed as possible.
Yeah.
Bitty Buggy actually reduces your top speed, if I remember correctly.
I think so, yeah, which is funny.
Pianist, if you could avoid tapping to look behind you.
Yeah, sorry.
No worries.
I do that sometimes when I mess up, but I've tried to think about that and not do it. Thanks for the reminder, though.
Yeah, no worries. So on Hyrule Circuit, there is one major shortcut. It is a lot easier in laps 1 and 2 than in lap 3. For a reason that we'll... This is a really, really fun shortcut to get right, and that was a flawless.
Yes, I'm very happy with that. I'm about 1 and 3 to get it perfectly, because the tricky thing is that you actually have to brake drift just enough to slow down to make it over the grass, because if you don't brake, then you just fly forwards into a wall, which is also not very fast. So
you have to slow yourself down in order to make the jump.
That's a common theme with 200cc, by the way.
Yeah,
there's a lot of time where Pianist is going to be braking while he's drifting. It's a mechanic that was built into the game. You can basically hold down the brake and still be holding a drift, which is not something you could do in previous Mario Kart games. Yeah. There's some turns that are just so tight that you would not be able to make them if you were going full speed.
And in order to execute that for someone at home, you would hold down accelerate and then start your drift, and then you can also be holding down brake as well. Oh, nice work escaping the Deku Baba, by the way.
I'm glad he wasn't going for me. He had already found a target.
That was flawless.
Yeah, so if you didn't notice there was a Piranha plant right after the Nisk on lap 3, which
it's a Deku
is
Baba.
always going to be there.
Right? It's a Deku Baba.
My bad.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
But yeah, that's there every time. It's super annoying because it hits you a lot if you don't remember it's there and actively try to avoid it. So it's really good that he avoided it there.
All right.
Baby Park is really boring,
RNG
aside from the fact that it
actually.
has the most discs of any track in the game. Because you can do it on twice every lap, so there's 14 discs on this track.
That was an interesting lap 3. But yeah, the CPU bumps here can be terrible. And that was just my fault. But
basically, if you hit a CPU before a disc on this track, it's just going to get rid of your drift completely, and you're going to have to hop through the grass. It didn't happen there. I think it was right on the edge of happening there.
Yeah.
But yeah, a bad CPU bump can just ruin you here.
Yep, and the reason why that happens is because the animation for like doing a little spin before you get that anti-grav boost has some special properties that include when you go off-road, you have no more speed, you have no more momentum.
Which is very annoying. A bunch of the things that Nintendo tried to program in to be fast, like drafting and those spin boosts, it's actually very difficult to have them save time. Most of the time they cancel out your mini turbo, and it ends up just being slower.
Here we have Cheeseland, widely considered to be one of the hardest tracks in the game. It really speaks for itself.
I was talking about this before we went live, actually. This is a track where if I'm doing a speedrun and I get 1 coin, I'm happy with that. As long as I don't fall off the track, I'm happy with however this track goes.
Yep, and that's kind of the philosophy I'm trying to hold to right now, too.
Like, Pianist just got a 6
wide
coin one, and honestly, that is good enough.
Yep. I'm aiming for no catastrophes, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, there are some really incredible shortcuts here that you've been seeing, and they're really difficult to explain. One of them involves getting a boost on a specific section of off-road track that momentum just lets you keep going.
Yep. I'm pretty good at this first disc here, but that's
one
second one onto
about.
the glider ramp.
For whatever reason, that off-road, you can keep your momentum there.
He got some air over the off-road and was just able to hop through the rest of it without losing much speed. That's a 200cc only strat. Please don't do that on 150. It's just going to be way slower. Same with this one. Just stay on the track unless you have an item in 150.
For that shortcut to the glider, or after the glider, it's important that when you're in the air over that off-road before the ramp, that is the moment when your boost expires, because then you can keep your momentum. If you're still boosting and you hit the off-road, you lose your speed. Here we have Wildwoods. Personally, this is my favorite track in the game.
This one's average for me, but you do you.
It's a bunch of fun. Assuming, oh man, I forgot to go for coins. That's embarrassing.
No, it's
the
okay.
left path is faster there, but only on lap 1.
Yeah, so basically, there's coins on the left path at the beginning. There aren't coins on the right path. So if you go the left path lap 1, you can pick up a ton of coins really soon, which is going to be immediately slower, but it's going to make the rest of the track faster. There's a lot of things like that where you go wide or take a bad line on purpose. Lap 1.
Great shortcut.
Yeah, that was perfect. But yeah, really the goal is usually get 10 coins as soon as you possibly can because it's going to make the rest of your track faster.
Yep.
And that barrel shortcut is also a bit Monka-esque.
A bit. I first learned it in 150 where it's a lot easier, so I was able to transfer it over to 200 quite well.
And you do see the ending shortcut there on the shortcut, which is fine. He still made it, but that just basically makes it even with the normal route. Is that right, Ember?
I think it loses a little, but
could you repeat that? Sorry.
Hitting the grass.
Hitting the grass on the shortcut.
Hitting the grass is the same as not taking the shortcut.
Is it? Okay.
And I'm seeing a question in chat. Why are we using Bitty Buggy instead of Mr. Scooty? It's mostly just personal preference.
There is actually
a bit differently.
They do drift differently, and in addition to that, the wider base of the cart allows you to take certain inside turns tighter.
Mm-hmm. All right. This
Sorry
is the
to
reason
just
that we
cut you
held
off.
ZL.
No, you're good.
Animal Crossing.
Because
Yes,
fall
so if you remember,
season
we
has
told
no
Pianist to
ramps.
hold the ZL button at the beginning of the run before he started. That's because there's a dev tool that they left in this game that allows you to choose what season Animal Crossing is going to be. So if you played this game, you know that Animal Crossing can be 4 different versions, which are the different seasons. You can choose which season you want if you're playing a versus race. It's unfortunately locked in time trials and random online. But yeah, it's just a dev testing tool that they left in, so we exploit that to choose the season that's the fastest.
Ugh, that was not.
And it's so
I don't think I'll go for that. That's the
autumn
second
fall
worst.
is like the most consistently fast because there are no ramps visible on the map. However, on 150cc and on 150cc you can use the ramps on the beach section in the summer version of the map to get a little bit of extra speed and take this really, really risky trick into a Super Mini Turbo. And you can do it on 200cc as well, but it is incredibly, incredibly risky. And so most people just do fall.
But really, there's a button mapped to every season. You can choose whatever season you want as long as it's not winter, because winter
I
has
advise
sliding
not
ice
winter.
ground, so you lose 10 seconds automatically.
It's 7
Yeah.
actually, not 10.
Feels like 10. But thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
It's 10 for me because I don't know how to drive winter because I never.
Yeah,
did.
we'll say it's 7 at least.
Sure.
Yeah.
Super Mini Turbo. Yeah, so there are, we haven't really said the different mini turbos. There are 3 different mini turbos. Those are the drifts, the boosts that you get. Mini Turbo is blue, Super Mini Turbo is orange, and Ultra Mini Turbo is the pink purple. And each one is bigger. The Mini Turbo stat, the higher Mini Turbo stat you have, the faster your drift will go from blue to orange to pink. The larger the boost will be at each check, and the boost will last longer as well. So you really want to have a very high Mini Turbo stat for a lot of these tracks.
Yeah, and those are commonly abbreviated to be MT, SMT, and UMT, respectively. So if you hear us say that, that's what we mean. And yeah, right now we're playing Neo Bowser City, which is a really tight track.
Very hard. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ah.
this is one where Pianist is brake drifting a lot because the corners are super tight. You need
And it's
to
raining.
be able to get through the corners and not fall off in this S-turn section. And to do that, you basically need to be going as slow as you possibly can while still holding the grip. Yeah, in the chat, Roy, Waluigi, and DK are the 3 characters that are generally considered the meta. They're the cruiserweight class. Those are the ones that are going to give you the best speed to mini turbo ratio.
Yep, if you want to go a little bit lighter for starting out, that is generally recommended. And so you could pick the metal characters, Pink, Gold, Peach, Metal, Mario, and Gold Mario. They're 1 weight class below. And then go back to a large-sized characters. There's King Boo and Rosalina
Link,
and Link. Yep.
Yeah. Yoshi is also very popular online.
For 200
That weight
for
class,
sure.
but
Yeah, if you're
I
playing
like the
200
metal-
cc online, you can really use any character you want
yeah,
because
It's very
the main
nice.
goal is to stay on the track.
Here we have Ribbon Road, which has a couple of interesting shortcuts.
I only go for 1.
But yeah, you can see those
Slightly
paths
cowardly.
off to the right of the track. They're really risky to go for because they're pretty small and you're coming at them at a weird angle. So especially on 200cc, it's very much a dice roll if you actually land on the platform.
Oh, I go for 'em.
Personally, I don't find it worth it, but yeah, Amber's practiced a lot more than I have, so
Yeah, that little ramp over the green section is actually something I still have to learn. But I have learned
Yeah.
those 2 shortcuts. The
Personally,
second
the
one is
green one-
way harder than the first one.
yeah, but also saves more time, which is interesting. So the risk reward is about the same ratio. Yeah. Oh wait, okay. Please excuse my brain for thinking
Okay,
that.
Did you
was
think
last
you were? Oops. No worries, it happens.
That's been a long time since that's happened. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, we're playing 48 tracks in a row. There's going to be a mistake or two in there. It's not a huge deal.
This category is honestly, a lot of people consider this to be an endurance category because of how long you have to play very well.
Absolutely.
Okay. I don't think I've ever made that mistake in a speed run before. I'm sorry.
We are 17 tracks in. We are 17 tracks in, Benji.
Yeah. At the start of each race, there's a little banner that tells you. Yeah, the 16th race now. Actually.
Yep, 16.
Oh, sorry.
And it looks
16.
like we got the good pattern, which is very good.
Yeah, so this is a track where there's 2 possible patterns, which is based on RNG. If you haven't played this track before, there's the subway trains that are driving through the entire time.
Yep. And you want
there's
the
2
red
different
train.
patterns that they can be on.
You want the red train to be moving with you, because then it doesn't bother you in lap 2.
Yep. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is the pattern that appears in time trials?
Yes.
It is, yes.
Okay, yeah. So it also makes it a lot easier to practice on this pattern.
Which is
because if you want to practice the other pattern, you basically just need to spam versus races until it shows up, which is not a very efficient way to practice.
Yeah, definitely not.
It just requires a very tight brake drift, but otherwise the track is relatively the same. You end up losing about a second and a half to taking worse lines, but it is not harder.
Yeah, for sure. And it's going to be the same thing on other tracks that have RNG components. It really doesn't usually make it harder to drive the track. Minus
it makes it slower. You have to take like a line that is a little bit farther. It's not as tight. You have to take a line that's less tight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was a good recovery there.
Yeah,
if you saw it, the wrong way, but he ended up not hitting it.
I meant to hop and then drift, but the hops and drifts got mixed up because I did everything.
I could have gone a lot worse because there was a subway that could have hit him right there. He could have just driven right off the track. He could have hit a wall. It was a good recovery.
All right, I think I'm going for section 1 this year.
Cool.
Sorry, I spammed the back camera again. My bad. I will stop.
So this is the last track in the game if we're talking about in order. Obviously he's not playing in order, but this is the last one. This is the other F-Zero track along
with Queen City. Very cool shortcut.
All right, let's go for this.
Oh, you're going for...
I am.
Okay, that has 2 really cool shortcuts.
I'm like 30% at it.
Here we go.
There we go.
Nice.
Let's go. Nice.
Oh my god.
That saves about a second, actually. So
I have never done
that. It's a new shortcut, actually. It's
I have
one
never
that
done.
Wasn't used.
This is the big one, though. This is the big one. This skips a third of the second segment of the track.
That's a very good big blue here. Whew. Okay.
So yeah, again, this is an F-Zero track, which means that the gravity is all weird. So because the gravity is all weird, you can just hold back on the controller and stay in the air forever. And they didn't put like a respawn plane there, so you can just skip the entire section.
Which is awesome. I'm very happy that they missed it, because it makes it a lot more interesting.
Oh, absolutely. It makes the track so much more fun.
One more shortcut just to end the track.
Yeah, lots of pet switches.
Gotta be cheeky.
I love this track, dude.
Right.
Okay, so that is the end of the bonus tracks, which is also known as the DLC tracks. So we've played the DLC tracks plus 1. We're going to move on to the Nitro tracks now, which are the tracks that were made specifically for this game.
Yep, and these are my babies. I love these
Pianists. This is his home.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, Pianist also has the world record in the Nitro Tracks 16 Cup category.
And the bonus tracks 16 Cup category.
That one's not recorded though.
Well, I also have actually recorded.
You did?
He has the
yeah. Well,
oh, nice. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he has a 40.
And then yesterday, or 2 days ago, I beat it by 11 seconds without recording, which is a bit of a shame. But
you'll just beat it again later.
I'll beat it later. Yeah,
absolutely.
It'll be fine.
I gotta catch up to you, man.
How much time would you say you put into this game overall, and these tracks in particular?
I think I have about 1,300 hours on this game, but that's not including a practice profile, which I do shroomless time trials on. So it's probably around 1,500 hours in total.
And Pianist, I just want to let you know, your bonus tracks was 6 seconds off a world record.
What the heck?
Wow.
Jeez. Well, I'll take it.
Jeez.
Thank you. Yeah, the front half of them were very, very good.
Yeah, I
Made
mean,
a couple
barring a few
mistakes
pretty
towards
small
the end,
mistakes, that was a really clean bonus track. Like, really, all of the mistakes he made in that bonus track segment didn't lose more than a second each. The only time you're really going to lose substantial amounts of time in this game is by falling off, which he didn't do.
Yeah.
There was
Ribbon
the
Road
Rainbow
mistake was the
There was
worst.
the Ribbon Road one, yeah.
Yeah.
But other than
that
I
lost a
thought
little more
that
than a second, but yeah, we can just forget that happened, and that's fine with me. Yeah. Stairs.
Yes, stairs. So, as you just saw, he went off that staircase at the very beginning of Water Park. He got a little bit of air, which is honestly
That was
close to
fine.
best case scenario, yeah.
Yeah.
So those stairs can either basically make you stick to the track, or they can shoot you up and basically put you on the outside wall. And that is technically controllable, but it feels like RNG, so
Yeah, I'm
anytime
very
you
bad
get
at
a
it.
drift that's salvageable, it feels good.
Yeah, like that last
And that was pretty good.
last 2 stairs was very solid. I'm just happy as long as it's not the worst case, where it loses about a second if it really bumps you up a ton. So hopefully they'll cooperate lap 3 as well, but we'll see. That wasn't horrible, but definitely got some air there.
Yeah, there was a little bit of airtime on that. It was definitely still salvageable. Like, in the long run, that's fine. Nothing huge went wrong there.
This probably is a good time to talk about soft drifting. We
Oh,
haven't
yeah, for sure.
yet.
Sure.
So, a lot of times in this game, there's going to be a corner that you want to drift around, but it's a little bit too wide to take it as tight as you possibly can. So that's when you're going to use a technique called soft drifting. And what soft drifting is if you have a controller near you, get it out now, put your finger on the analog stick. So if you're turning right, the natural move would be to put the stick directly facing right.
Like 3
But
o'clock.
if you want to do a soft drift, you're going to put it a little bit above facing right. So maybe at like 2 o'clock if you're using the clock diagram.
Yep.
And what that's going to do, your
Or
drift is
4.
still going to charge as fast as if you were holding it directly right, but you're going to turn less tight. He's doing it right here. So what that allows you to do, basically, is charge a drift fast, not take it tight, avoid wiggle drifting, which, as we've established, is slower. So
Gotta be smooth.
once you learn soft drifting, you realize that you can do it on most turns in the game. It's pretty much the optimal way to drift.
In addition to that, there is one other drifting technique that speedrunners use, and that's slide drifting, which is used at the very beginning of your drift. It's like the hop. You know how when you drift, you jump up in the air a little bit and then land and start the drift? Well, if you start your drift from like a neutral input or somewhere similar to a neutral input and you manage to slide your cart out as you're landing on the ground, then that angle, that slide will be the start of your drift and you'll be able to get your first charge faster. And it also changes the direction a little bit and changes the movement of your drift ever so slightly. Makes it a little easier to control actually too.
Yeah, so which way is the best to take any given turn? You can kind of get a feel for it, but really it's just learning what's best to do on every turn. Rule of thumb though, if the turn is wide, soft drift. If it's really tight, just do a drift. But yeah, it takes a lot of practice to learn the best ways to do every track.
Yeah, so here I'm looking back just a little bit to make sure the CPUs aren't going to mess me up too bad. Okay. Sometimes they bump you there. It's not usually a big deal, but...
Yeah, so in case you didn't notice, that was a NISC right at the beginning of the track. So basically what he had to do was get the startup boost and just immediately start a drift left so he can hop over the grass.
And you actually, there was a mid-air drift as well, going into the water where Pianist started his drift and then kind of floated over the air and then down the water. And that allowed him to charge his drift while he was just in midair moving in one direction. And that's a mechanic that's used throughout the game in multiple tracks as well. You see
Yeah, seeing a question in chat about using a GameCube controller to get soft drifts. Please don't do that.
yeah, it is the
GameCube
wrong
controllers
angle.
have the little notches at 45 degrees. But soft drifting, the optimal angle is actually a little bit below 45 degrees.
Yeah, it's closer
So
to
if you use the
60 or
groups and the
30,
game controller, it's not going to be
60
a
or
good soft drift.
Oh. That UMT is very tough, but I'm happy I got it there. Ah.
Yes.
And that trick that's coming out of the water, it feels very inconsistent.
It stairs. Like,
Sometimes you just miss it, and I don't know.
you miss
it
it
feels like
because
there's not
it's
much I can
stairs.
do
It's
about
the
it.
same thing as water park
Yeah.
stairs.
There's a couple of tricks like that. That's the worst for me personally, but yeah.
Moving on to Flower Cup, we have Mario Circuit, and this track
Soft
is
drift
entirely soft drifts. It is so smooth, so fast, so
Yes.
clean.
If you want to learn how to soft drift, please
Yeah, play this track.
this track, because this track is literally 100% soft drifts. And you're going to be able to see Roy's head isn't really looking around that much because he's holding the stick in a pretty consistent place.
Yep, so Roy's head, you can use that as kind of like an analog for what direction the analog stick is moving. If you wiggle the stick around a lot, you'll see your character turn their head a lot, like to steer the cart as well. And so you see that he's really only barely moving the analog stick through all of these drifts.
Oh, and if he's driving past a Piranha plant and it just doesn't hit him, it's because
He's fast.
he's driving too fast for the Piranha plant to be able to react to him in time.
Which will happen for the first plant here on lap 3.
Yeah, so we'll be able to see that.
I think it will hit you actually, unless you go inside enough, but also they're just pretty bad at aiming on 200, so it's a combination of both that makes them just never hit you, basically.
Right, so yeah, that was pretty clean. Again, that track is just taking lines as tight as possible, soft drifting every turn. Once you know it, you can get every time.
Yep. Toad Harbor is a lot trickier. Yes,
you're talking about holding your analog stick. Are there any controller preferences when playing this game, or is there anything that's strictly better over another option?
Everybody uses something differently. I use Pro Controller. I know most people use Pro Controller, but some people use 2 Joy-Cons. The only thing I don't see very often is 1 Joy-Con.
Pro-Con feels better to most people, but every input is possible with every controller as far as I know.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really make a difference in terms of the level that you can get to.
Yeah,
I think I remember
the only difference between controllers is ergonomics. So if a Pro Controller feels better, use a Pro Controller.
Definitely.
Fair enough.
I think I even remember seeing a time trial world record that someone did in handheld mode with Joy-Cons, so it's definitely possible to
I know a few
try
players
that
who play on
level.
Switch Lite.
Man, legends. Oh, actually, motion controls do sort of give a slight advantage in one situation. So that's not strictly a controller, but during gliders, turning motion controls on can actually give you a higher range of motion. So there's a couple of 150cc time trials that have recently started pausing and then going off of a glider to do some crazy stuff.
And that's probably not going to be speedrun viable for a while because you need to pause the game to enable tilt controls.
Personally, I think even in time trials, it's a little iffy, but currently it's allowed, so I won't complain. It also allowed the time trials for both Bowser's Castle and Rainbow Road to get under 2 minutes, which is
Pretty cool.
Pretty hype. So
yeah, and if you want to use tilt controls exclusively, again, I know very good players who use tilt controls. It's doable. You can play this game however you want to.
And others, yes. Yep. Okay, so I go right here to avoid that boo, because boos are solid, in case you didn't know, because that makes sense. Ghosts are solid.
Yeah.
Those do have hitboxes.
Yep. I can try and boop one at some point.
I wouldn't. Just
Yeah,
take her for it.
Sometimes the glider just takes you there. So
True.
if they're in the way.
Here we have a really, really cool drift that is... You can optimize this drift quite a lot.
Yeah, I'm okay at it, but there's always room
some
for
of these
improvement.
lines. If we say lines, it just means the path that we're taking with our drift along the track. Some of these lines can be improved in just like really microscopic ways, and they'll speed you up over the course of the run. Just like changing your lines and incorporating like slightly tighter lines. It really adds up, and some of these tracks have places with a lot of room for optimization. It's kind of hard to see sometimes, and so I think that point right before the soldiers is one of them.
Yeah, I took the second to last turn on lap 2 pretty badly, so I wasn't able to make a cycle there, which is a double trick there on those wavy roads. But oh well.
But yeah, this turn after the glider ramp is one of those turns where you need to basically be holding the brake button to make it on 200cc.
Yep. But then also realize that brake drifting does slow you down, so you still try to brake drift as little as possible while not dying, so it's a difficult balance.
Yeah, it's all a big balancing act. This is a pretty fun track in my opinion. There's a pretty large shortcut on this track that you're going to see near the end of the lap.
It's almost famous for being one of the most impressive no mushroom shortcuts, because just like the area that you jump over, it doesn't look possible to be done without a mushroom. But you'll see that it's pretty cool.
That was a pretty sloppy waterfall section, but that doesn't really...
As you're going up the waterfall, you want to jump so that you don't get pushed back by the water. And here's that shortcut.
That was not a pretty disc, but hopefully laps 2 and 3 I'll get it. It's definitely possible to clear the entire off-road. Oh.
Yeah, so if you didn't see, he clipped the grass a little bit on the shortcut and also on that corner right there. But
yeah,
he still made it over the gap, which is the important part.
Yep, without falling off. Okay, let's do it right this time. There we go.
Yeah, perfect.
Beautiful.
So again, what he's doing there, he's releasing his drift, getting the mini turbo hopping over the grass, clearing the entire grass, and then tricking off of the ramp, which is at the end of it. So they expect you to take that shortcut with a mushroom. You don't need a mushroom for it.
But we say no.
And really, it just doesn't look possible on...
Yeah, especially on 150, because yeah, pretty much all of these NISCs that he's doing are also possible on 150cc. They're just a lot harder.
And that's a very, very hard one on 150.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the hardest.
I used to be about 50% consistent at it on 150, but then I stopped doing it because it's very risky online. And then I just kind of lost my touch, and now I just don't go for it. Now this is one of my favorite tracks. Oh wait, and I'm doing 150cc struts. Let's not do that.
Yeah, this one is really cool.
I don't know why, but I just always do well on it online and also just in speedruns.
It's a very fast track, but it's also pretty straightforward. There's a lot of room to just make the drifts as tight as possible. It's a very clean track once you learn it.
Yep.
And
simple,
that
but
to be a favorite.
This is one of those ones, it's easy to learn, hard to master, but when you do master it, it's so satisfying to drive.
That's how I feel about Wildwoods. I think that might be why it's my favorite.
Yeah, because it's simple, but there's a very high skill ceiling. One thing to note also, after I pass that glider ramp, you'll notice that I don't actually trick, but you probably can't tell, but I am pressing ZR to kind of quote-unquote like air drift or something after my glider comes out. And for whatever reason, that makes your glider go lower. And also I hop onto the edge of that cannon there so that I enter the cannon time faster. There's a lot of weird glider mechanics in this game. I don't think anyone really understands why they happen, but they definitely do. So
Yeah, so what's kind of happening under the hood with that one? When you trick off of a glider ramp, it sets your speed to like a set value. But when you don't trick, it keeps your speed at what it was before. And coming out of a drift is faster than tricking. So if you can drift into a glider ramp, it's going to be faster than tricking into it.
Generally, yeah. Definitely is. And on 200cc, you don't see quite as many of those glider strats. But on 150, there's a ton of them. And they're all very cool and very difficult.
Yes. This is another track that I really love, mostly because of the music.
I'm terrible at it, so I don't like it. Ah! Speaking of being terrible at it, let's avoid that. At least I didn't fall off.
And right here you're going to see a 200cc specific strat. Just taking the glider over that entire turn, you can't do that on 150. Well, you can, but people just very recently start doing it, and it's not very commonly used yet.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you need a mushroom for it, and maybe multiple.
I think it's possible shrimless, but it's so tight.
Is it really?
Yeah, this is a strat that's just being found out now. That's why we don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
So how long have each of you been part of the community? Because it seems like, you know, if strats are being found out a few years later, it's got to have, like, you know, pretty interesting impact on the game.
I've been playing Mario Kart 8 since it came out on Wii U, so I've been playing for 5 years now, almost 6.
Yeah, and I bought my Switch, then bought Mario Kart 8, and then that's pretty much when I started playing. I bought it to speedrun, kind of casually.
Deluxe, right?
Yes, I did. So I never learned fire hopping or anything. But
yeah, I started playing this game in early 2019. I also bought my Switch to speedrun this game because it looked cool.
Nice. But yeah, there's many people who are actively playing this game. We'll talk more about that at the end. I think Jacob has a list of all the ways that you can play currently.
Yeah, we'll talk about all that later.
But yeah, there's plenty of people still searching and improving times.
I know we kind of mentioned it with fire hopping, but do you think now is a good time to talk about version differences?
Yeah, sure. I can do that. I played both of them.
Yeah, I did not.
So there are quite a few differences between Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I'll get the most obvious ones out of the way. The first one is that there's a third tier of drift. Like the Ultra Mini Turbo, the pink one, was not in the Wii U version of the game, Mario Kart 8 U. In addition to that, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe lets you have 2 item boxes. Mario Kart 8 for Wii U did not let you have 2 item boxes. Of course, we're not playing with items because RNG sucks.
Or speedruns, definitely.
Yeah, for speedruns at least. In addition to that, a lot of stats were rebalanced in the game. A lot of the carts and characters were rebalanced. All of the DLC from the Wii U version was added to the base game at $60. And what am I missing? I'm missing one important thing.
Mini Turbo and remove fire hopping.
Right, they changed the physics of the game. They updated the mini turbos, and one of the things that they did was made it so when you start your hops, you lose a little bit of speed so that you can't do this mechanic called fire hopping, which is fairly complicated and involves doing multiple little hops after releasing your drift. It's not a thing that you can do in this version of the game, and this is the version of the game that most people run, so I don't think going into more detail is necessary.
Yeah, it's very technical, but not important here.
Yeah. This is another one of my favorite tracks on 200. It's really tight, there's a lot of cool things you can do.
And I'm aiming to get all 3 of those coins there, but it's very tricky, and I usually miss at least one. And there's a ramp there. The fastest way is actually to go inside that ramp, but I didn't feel confident with that right there. So I just took the Nintendo provided ramp, so I got air and didn't fall off.
Yeah.
Good path through the cave, and now we're going into the trees section. The route through the trees, there's a couple of different ways to get through them.
Yeah, the
this
trees
shortcut,
are
you can just
terrible.
hop through this snow as well.
This is actually the fastest way to do it. It's faster than going around, even though you're just hopping through off-road.
Yep. And basically you just want to avoid all of these logs.
Candace took the hardest path through the trees, which is basically straight through.
Actually. There's some that are...
I usually go to the left.
It's possible to like... Oh, true, I guess. But it's possible to cut to the right of several of those trees. But I'm not very consistent at it, so I just...
Yeah, those trees are like...
They're
so annoying.
Definitely my least favorite part of that track.
For sure.
And I'll over that hill at the end too.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, that was a pretty clean Mount Wario.
Yeah.
The only thing I really noticed was missing 2 of the coins at the beginning.
Yeah. And I didn't ever pick up 10, but it was solid, so...
Oh well.
Super bounce time.
Yeah, so this is the first time we're going to be able to see a mechanic called a super bounce. Every time you see a boost pad like that, you can drift off of it, just like that, to get a little bit more speed through the air. So drift before the bounce pad, release the drift and trick off of it. It's faster than just tricking off of it. You're going to be able to see that on this track, obviously. You can also see it on DK Jungle and Music Park, which are both going to be shown later on. And by the way, this is the first track of the Special Cup, which is definitely the hardest the hardest cup in this game.
I've practiced those tracks a lot, and they're still some of my weakest because they're just very, very difficult.
Yeah, they're...
Thankfully, the cycles here are globally set, so I don't have to worry about RNG or anything with them.
Yeah, all of these lightning bolts, they're known. We know where they are. We can just avoid them.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll be able to beat out the cycle in lap 3. This is a decent pace, but not amazing. And that was a little sloppy, so maybe not at this point. We'll see.
Yeah. Finally getting to 10 coins. The rule of thumb, the harder the track is, the less we care about getting coins.
True. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to make it. I'll just go right.
Yeah, it seems... Yeah, good choice.
It would have been close, but I don't trust it.
So if you didn't see, there was a lightning bolt that was about to appear on the left side boost panel. It's something that you can get in there before if you're going fast. If you're going a little less fast, it's safer to just go right. And this track is absolutely insane.
Yeah,
because when you look
at the start, I go for a Nisk. That was actually very clean. Mostly I don't do it to do it well. I do it so I avoid being bumped.
Shoutouts to Panda for pioneering that.
Being amazing at this track in general, and a lot of other tracks. There's so many great players, honestly, but yeah. Coins are very, very difficult on this track. 7 at the end of lap 1 is
those coins.
Okay. 10 is ideal, obviously. Yes. But very difficult, so...
So as you can see from how it is, this track is insanely difficult to play on 200cc. All the corners are super tight. You need to brake drift and get the right angles on every turn.
And all of these roads are super bumpy too.
Yeah, you need to basically get onto the right bump of the road every single turn. So it's something you need to practice a lot before you can be good at it.
$10 coins boosts your speed, your top speed, Boo Fasten.
Yeah, so the difference between 0 coins and 10 coins is basically the difference between the slowest cart and the fastest cart in the game.
Yeah, it's a very significant difference.
Yeah, so please collect coins. They're very important.
Yes. And it's worth mentioning, too, that even though this is the no items run, there's a separate item setting called no items or coins. This is not that. Coins are here. There's some wonky translations. Okay, also I need to watch out for CPUs here.
Yeah, so this is probably the most psychedelic track in the game.
all of these cycles try to hurt you.
Yeah, there's the fire and that wrecking ball there. That wrecking ball kills this track so many times.
Yeah.
Because
That
even if
very
you know where
first
it
wrecking
is-
ball is scary.
Yeah, even if you know where it is, which you do because it's a global cycle, it moves so quickly that if you're not on basically the perfect pace, you can completely lose track of where it's going to be.
Yeah. So I'm very glad that start went well, because it means that I know where everything is now. So I should be able to just go right here, and it's way over left, which is perfect. Exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah, awesome.
And then I go right path this time, and there's kind of a cut I do here. Yeah. The time trial world record actually cuts off a significantly bigger portion of that, but it's very difficult and risky, so I don't go for that. But
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, this track specifically, more than any other track, if you make one mistake, it just compounds on itself until you're like 20 seconds behind.
yeah, that wasn't so good, but
I mean,
Happens.
honestly,
it was late
that's the
enough
best
in the
place.
run that it's okay.
That's the best place to hit something because you're past all the cycles now.
Yeah,
Like if he had done that on lap 1, this track could have been an absolute disaster.
I would have cried probably, but we're okay, so awesome. On to the infamous Rainbow Road.
Yes.
Brake drifting is essential here.
Yes, this is probably the most common question we get in the speedrunning
Yeah.
Discord. How do I take the second turn on Rainbow Road 200cc?
Yeah, so we should probably
The
answer
answer
it
is
here. I
brake a
guess.
lot. You brake, and
Yeah.
it's braking.
Braking is
You
definitely the
can
most
take your-
important thing.
You could take your hand off the gas for a couple frames, really.
Yeah. Also, holding that first turn drift longer helps, because it means that you can start from the outside and then swing inside, rather than starting on the inside and then being flung outside and falling off.
Yeah.
Which is
So
what
if
always
you saw
happens.
there, even though he did basically the optimal strategy there, he still pretty much went to the far outside edge of the track. Just because
Which
the
actually
turn
is
too small
optimal.
for 200cc.
Yeah.
So if you
Going
don't know
into-
what you're doing there, you're going to fall off every time.
Yep. And again, here I'm actually brake drifting as little as possible, which is scary, because if you brake drift too little, then you fall off. But I played this track enough that I generally know how well to balance it.
And this little shortcut here, you can just drift off of that edge, cut through the off-road, saves a bit of time.
Not sure how I missed that trick there, but I did.
Yeah, that was weird. No, there's a few ramps in this game where it's just particularly hard to get a trick. I'm thinking of the one on Swamp Ruins, there's one on Bowser's Castle that's hard.
Yeah.
Tick-Tock Clock is really bad for trick ramps.
Animal Crossing, the bridge at the start.
Yes, that too.
Yeah. That was solid though.
That was a good Rainbow Road.
Nitro was pretty darn good overall.
Yeah, so that was
Nothing
the
went
last
terribly
Nitro
well.
track.
Or nothing went terribly, I mean, which is good.
So Rainbow Road is the end of the Special Cup, it's the end of Nitro tracks, so now Pianist has 15 tracks left, which are all games which appeared in previous Mario Karts.
Tracks, which appeared in previous Mario Karts.
Oh, did I say that wrong? My bad.
Just games.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
Moo Moo Meadows, this is from Mario Kart Wii. It's a classic.
And it probably has the most pure RNG in the run because the cows are random.
The cows,
Cows are terrible.
it's
was
pure
trained.
cow energy.
Come on, Bessie. This is
So
interesting.
if there are cows on the track, which those are fine,
Fine, a little scary though.
yeah. Basically, there's situations where you need to hop over the off-road because the cows are completely covering your line. And
Yeah.
like that's just pure
I hope
RNG.
that
You
doesn't
can't control
happen.
that.
Oh, this is perfect though now.
They've gotten out of your way. Nice.
Yeah, perfectly clear.
There's been times where I've just had to drive completely onto the grass to avoid them, which is still faster than hitting it. But it's very frustrating sometimes. That was
Yeah.
solid.
I have to tell him to move over.
Oh man.
But yeah, considering how bad the cows can be on that track, that went very well.
Yep.
This track has a lot of shortcuts. There are 8 in total, if I remember correctly.
Just about, yeah. Oh,
there are 3.
that's a bad bump.
You do one of them in 2 laps, and the other 2 you do all 3 laps. So there are 8 shortcuts. Here's the first one.
Just drift over that corner.
The second one is the one some people might know, going over these tires.
So you're going to want to charge a
Launch
Super Mini
first.
Turbo or an SMT. Just hop right over. You can also get an SMT over this corner. That's the third shortcut.
Recently, the time trial world record there actually started just doing a mini turbo over there, but that requires a frame perfect hop on the off-road, and yeah, I'm not really ready to do that in a speedrun this long, so
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not really looking to be doing frame perfect inputs, and now we're in.
yeah, it looks very cool, but swag is not the most important factor here. Kind of sloppy on the third lap, but we made it.
Oh, that's fine. And by the way,
tires can be finicky.
when we talk about a new thing happening in time trials, that's usually going to save like 0.1.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
If it's a big thing.
the fact that we're not doing these new strats is not really hindering our run very much.
Yeah, that's
These
very
are-
good.
These are
Good
things that
point.
are only helping the most optimized runs in the game.
So here on this turn here, I'm doing, I guess, the neutral stick drifting, as Vike helpfully supplied earlier. It's actually slower to build up an SMT there because of how drifting tight slows you down. Jeez. The camera angle there can be kind of wacky, and it messed me up there.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're not running into the wall, you ended up on the right angle. It really didn't
Yeah.
move that much.
In the end, it was okay. And the crabs are good, which is sweet. It is a set cycle, but the first lap is kind of scary. The fastest way is actually to get a mini turbo off of that ramp there, but it's pretty difficult to get your line correctly ready for it.
Yeah, just getting all of the mini turbos there, not hitting anything
Throwing
is
strats
usually going
out
to
the
be
window here. Okay, ideally what this should look like. Let's see if I could get this right here. That UMT, that SMT, and King Boo ruined everything, but that's okay.
Still did get the trick off of it. It was just a
I
little
did,
slow to the bomb.
so you could see it. It's the general idea.
And now we're moving on to Toad's Turnpike, and this has a couple of different patterns.
Yeah, this is my least favorite track, and I'm just gonna go for consistency here.
You did get a good pattern. You can see the good patterns in the preview screen. The glider ramp appearing in the middle of the road is a good pattern.
And you can see it right there. The truck with the glider ramp on it is in the middle path. It's good. You'll see why in lap 2. But basically it means he's going to be able to do a faster strat.
In addition to that, this pattern is also faster because there are fewer cars on the inside sections of the track when you're on them.
So it's less scary.
Yep, these cars have hitboxes a little bit bigger than their models.
Okay, so
Sometimes that
because
boost
you have
panel
good
just
RNG, you
doesn't
can just go
give you
straight off
any
of that.
boost. Yeah, the boost panel, I skipped right over it though. Just kind of unfortunate. I need to learn how to consistently get it, but it seems kind of random.
Yeah, I find that not tricking off of it helps, but that might just be a preference thing. But yeah, that's the good RNG because you can take that glider ramp. If it was the bad RNG, that car would have been on the right path, so it would be kind of unfeasible to take it.
It's also a
Which
little
would
bit
be
farther
awesome.
forward,
Yeah,
which makes
There
it
we are.
really impossible to take. Nice. Good work.
Corey likes bonking trucks.
Who doesn't?
I don't know, man. I'm very happy that I managed to not hit anything there.
Yeah, there was some.
I'm not very good at that track. It's my least favorite, and I don't practice it very much because of that.
This is another one of the coolest tracks in the game to drive.
Hopefully I'll show it off well.
Yeah, so there's a few different NISCs on this track. The first one is going to be pretty soon here. Just hop right over the turn.
That was good. I didn't hit any off-road.
Yeah.
It's much easier to feel the off-road than see it. Okay.
And the second NISC on the track is going to be right up here. He's going to drift left, get a an SMT right.
Nice.
Just hop over it. And that was awesome. You kind of skitter across the sand and get to the end of the lap.
Staying right there helps a lot, which is strange.
Having the momentum over the sand is really, really important. You cannot be drifting or holding your drift at all because of the way the game sets drifting states. You have to just be driving over the off-road with your momentum.
Yep. Even hopping isn't necessary, which is crazy.
You do not press R unless you end up getting caught on the off-road. Then you have to start hopping to go faster again.
Yeah, which is still crazy. I'm always just kind of surprised when it just works. Because really, it just does. It just works.
It is the fastest, it is the most time-saving no-item shortcut, I think. Besides,
I think so too, yeah.
Big Blue. And it's so fast that, like, screwing it up, like, to the extent where you saw in lap 2.
And lap 3 there. It loses about a second, yeah.
But it's still so much faster than taking the route around the track. That it's worth going for, even if you honestly even just driving off-road over that hill is faster than going around.
Much faster.
Yeah, it just works.
Okay,
so this is one of the hardest tracks in the run.
This is another bane of me.
Jacob, I think you should explain this.
Yeah, so this
and I'm not going for
where the traction is really bad because they want it to be wet road or whatever. So you can't turn. All the turns are really tight. You're like hopping out of the water everywhere, and you might end up drifting the wrong way. And there's moles to trick off of, which
you generally don't want to. Yeah, and there's also a NISC that you can go for, but I'm not comfortable with that because I have enough cover to put the regular track.
Yes, this track is incredibly difficult to maneuver and control your kart.
Yeah, this is a track where just playing it without making a huge mistake is good enough. You don't need to be taking amazing lines on it. Just don't run into a wall and you're good.
Very good.
Speaking of which,
that's a lot better than I typically do. This is great.
Yeah, no major mistakes on that. We kind of hyped it up as being really hard, and then you made it look easy.
Which I'm happy about, yeah. Most of the time I mess something up there, but that was very solid.
The moles are on a global timer on that track. They appear at the same time in the same place every time.
Yeah, so I'm seeing a question about inside drifting. It does exist in this game.
It is slower.
It's not optimal. It's something that you can use if you're more comfortable with it, but it's at least a little bit slower on those tracks.
In addition to that, it's just a different style of drifting that this game doesn't. So this game wants you to be able to go wide, and inside drifting bikes really don't let you go wide. So it requires a different mentality to driving. So you won't see people driving both unless they're only driving inside drifting bikes for like a solid month or something, and then they'll go back to driving normal karts and bikes.
Yeah, you gotta want it if you're gonna play inside drifting bikes in this game.
It's gotta be like a personal challenge for you because it's not actually faster.
Yeah. Recently, just for fun, I learned inside drift for 150. But that was just kind of a fun thing for me, and I was slow with it, and I didn't enjoy it all that much because I was bad at it mostly, so I kind of dropped it.
No, inside drifting is worse for every mode.
Yeah.
But people prefer,
there's a few...
I guess we should actually maybe address that. Aeon Frodo ran this game Deluxe a couple of years ago, and she uses inside drifting bikes. That is it is slower, but it is just the style of but that's just the style of driving that she preferred, and
it's
However,
faster for her.
What is traditionally used across the board.
And by the way, we're not saying that inside drift is completely unviable. You can absolutely use it if you're comfortable with it. You just won't be setting very many time trial world records with it.
Yeah. There's a few tracks where inside drift actually helps a ton. Twisted Mansion on 200cc is one that we'll show off later, actually.
Nice super.
Yeah, that was good.
Thank you.
There are super
a bit of a bonk after.
At the beginning of each lap. Just keep an eye on those.
Yeah, coins on this track are tough.
This is another section, just this inside of this temple, where the lines you take can be optimized a surprising amount.
Yeah. And there are approximately no coins on this track, so
there are 5 coins on the route each lap, and 6 if you want to take an intentionally slower path.
Yeah.
In other words, it's actually a pretty hard challenge on this track.
Yeah, in a game where the entire goal is to getting 10 coins as fast as possible, it's just great when you can only get 5 in the lap.
Yeah, it's very tough. Even the time trial world record, I think, only gets 9 at the end. Ooh. Okay. I didn't fall off.
Didn't fall off.
That's what's
Still
important.
clean on that.
But, this lap is interesting.
This is one track where I always fall off, or at least it feels like I do, so anything short of that is a victory in my book.
Yeah. Kind of sad about messing up the Super Bounce lap 3, because that really saves a bunch of time, but not falling off is definitely a win.
Yeah, I will take it over falling off.
Okay, very technical track.
7 more tracks to go. Wario Stadium. This is turn left stadium. There are 2 right turns, but they're very insignificant. There are going to be a lot of left turns. The coin route here is pretty impressive, and just watch how Pianist takes this all in lap 1.
Yeah. Yes, all of those coins.
Yeah, 4 of them. Yeah, optimally you would get all 4. It's hard to get all 4, so I don't blame this one.
Right turns, by the way, that ramp was one of the right turns, and that was the other one. Otherwise, it's all left.
These coins are not my best. I should have 10 at this point, but thankfully there's 4 here that, oh my gosh, that I bump again and miss, but...
J-Dub, the world record is 125.57 by Pianist. And yeah, aside from the coin route, this is a pretty technical track, but there's really not too much to talk about outside of that. It's just taking the best lines possible, knowing which things are the fastest things to do. There's no big shortcuts, really.
Which things to trick on and which things to not trick on is very crucial as well.
For example, drifting off the 4 burst pads. Please don't trick off of those.
Yeah, even just going straight. Oh gosh. That was unfortunate. Not much I could do about that.
Yeah.
But pretty solid overall.
Definitely. 6 more tracks to go.
Alright. Burton Land up next.
This is one of my favorite tracks.
I enjoy it too, but I'm not very good at it.
I love driving this track because, like Mario Circuit earlier, pretty much everything is a soft drift.
Yeah.
So if you can soft drift, it's just so satisfying to play this track.
It's important to know that going in the water is slower on this track, and so we're going to try to not go down there.
Yes. The first one there especially loses a bunch of time.
Yeah.
I don't even know how much, because it's not worth timing, because it's 5 seconds at least, I think. At least on 150, maybe slightly less on 200, just because the times are compressed a bit. But
yeah, it's just a completely useless route.
yeah,
Never go down there.
Nice cheeky little trick on the exit ramp of that section, though.
thank you. I really love that low trick.
Because it's so low, it's faster. Again, air speed is about the same as land speed. They're not very far different. What's more important is air time and like the trajectory you're taking in the air. If you're going up into the air a lot, that means you're not going forward.
It looks like there might be a bit of CPU interference here. Yep, okay.
Yeah, it was okay, thankfully. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Ice physics got me there. The
Couldn't
beginning
cover
of
it down.
drifts is tricky.
There's a lot of things that could have gone very wrong there, and then nothing did. So that's a good sign.
Thankfully.
Moving on to Yoshi
Music
Valley.
Park.
Music, yeah.
Yoshi Valley after.
Yep.
This is a fun one. Hopefully I'll get everything correct.
There's a lot of fun stuff to do on this track. There's a really cool super bounce, and technically two, I think you consider.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think the second one's a super bounce. It acts like it. I don't know. Yeah. And it's also worth noting that 2 SMTs is better than 1 UMT most of the time. So
that-
on that very first turn, I take 2 SMTs rather than 1 long UMT.
and as a reminder, MT is the blue drift, SMT is the orange drift, and UMT is the purple drift.
And you can just hop over that grass at the end of the lap.
Yeah, I messed it up a bit there. I'll try to cut off less next lap.
Yeah. If you do
So
it
I don't
perfectly, you
have to
can
do it.
completely avoid the grass. If you don't do it perfectly, it's still faster than taking the normal route, so...
Yeah. Jeez. Don't quite know what I was doing there.
And yeah, something to note, in that music note section, it is faster to go off the glider ramp. If you're playing 150cc, it's faster to stay on the ground. So that's a pretty big difference in the track based on which cc you're playing.
Yeah.
It's just because in 150 you can chain some drifts back and forth on the ground. In 200 it's too fast for that anyway, so just stay in the
Yeah.
air.
The notes there have very strange hit boxes. Oftentimes they'll like squish you when they're still in the air. And unfortunately there, I drove off the road after the track, which means that the screen will freeze for a minute there and then it'll load slower. I don't really know why that happens, but I try to finish left to avoid that, but I guess I wasn't far enough over.
Yeah, like
There are a couple of different places where the screen will freeze like that, and it's not 100% guaranteed to freeze if you fall.
Which is also
But it's-
strange.
It just happened. Yeah, these like long loads. Music Park is notorious for it. In other tracks, you'll see it
Yeah.
occasionally. Music Park is the only track we ever pay attention to it because of how prominent it is.
It can happen on Toad Harbor, I think, but it's only about like 25% for me, at least with the way that I end it. And I think some other tracks as well, but I never really notice.
Little shortcut over this little hill. You just hop over it. There's no drift involved in that one. It's just point yourself in the right direction and jump.
yeah, as far as the path goes, this is the fastest way to do it. If you're playing 150, you can do another path that's almost the same speed and gets more coins, but most of the time, just go for the bridge. It'll be fastest.
Yep. Yeah, and here I don't get a UMT because the cost of drifting tight would slow me down.
Yeah, so he's getting a neutral drift there instead of holding it tight. Just for the same reason as any other turn, you don't want to be wiggling the control stick back and forth. You just want to keep your movements as smooth as possible. And the best way to do it on that turn specifically is to keep the stick neutral.
Okay. Rosalina almost had a moment of glory, but
Yeah, there's been a lot of CPU bumps, but none of them have been
Yeah.
disasters, so that's good.
thank goodness.
Absolutely. 3 more tracks to go, and now we have
Alright.
Tick-Tock Clock. This is a cycle, very cycle-based track, which is kind of you can kind of expect that from a clock.
True.
There's a shortcut you can do on each lap. I think Pianist is only going to be doing the first 2 laps, though.
Only lap 2, actually. I'm not
okay.
confident with even the first lap. So
we'll point that out.
Fine with the mushroom, but without, it's a little tough. Okay. Good tricks there.
Good getting the tricks on those. Yeah, absolutely.
Those are all cycles. You know exactly where they're going to be. It's still hard to actually get all of the tricks.
Yeah. There's still a lot of variation in the pace, so it can be tricky.
So the shortcut that we were mentioning, in lap 1, you can kind of bounce over the clock hands at the end of the lap. You can do it as well in lap 3. In lap 2, it's a little bit different and a little bit easier, so Pianist is going to go for it right here.
Slide like so. I bounced a little bit, but it was pretty clean overall.
Yeah,
it was pretty good. He didn't get a ton of air there, so he was able to just keep the drift and release it facing directly towards the finish line, which is what you want.
The gears at the end are not faster because they send you up more than they send you forward. Yes. Tom Heckery. You have to think in 3D space with this game sometimes.
Yeah, they are faster in
150. There's also a strat where you kind of like brake a little bit, so you get a low enough trick for a double trick. But that's kind of weird. and I just go for the single track in 150. All right,
moving on to Piranha Plant Slide. This track is very, very difficult.
Yeah. Hoping to just not make any giant mistakes.
Always.
I mean, that's kind of the theme of the run, honestly. I think no giant mistakes, and we're okay. So it's faster to go left there, but I go right lap 1 because it's very difficult to have the speed necessary with only like 2 or 3 coins to make the jump.
Yeah, you also have to trick late, which gives you more airtime.
But on laps 2 and 3, I will be doing it, and it's pretty simple then, so.
It's very fast.
Yeah, 48 tracks is every track. So now he's going that other left path instead of the right one we were talking about.
Yep. Got a bit of weird air there, but it worked out. The water streams, too, are on a global cycle, so hopefully I'll be fast enough here to avoid one that comes out and pushes me wide on the 3rd lap.
Yeah.
So far this is looking good, so as long as I don't mess up.
I feel like a broken record at this point, but again, as long as you're not making any huge, disastrous mistakes, it's fine to make little errors like that.
Yep. And something this long.
Yep.
I just
48 tracks is an endurance category for sure.
Yeah, if you want to play like a cup category, which is just 4 tracks long,
then you're going to be pulling out all the stops.
But if you're playing 48 tracks, not all of them are going to be perfect.
Yep.
Okay, so the last track is coming up, and time will be on crossing the finish line.
In lap 3.
On lap 3, yes.
So this is Grumble Volcano from Mario Kart Wii. This is the 3rd track. This is the 3rd track in Lightning Cup, but it's the last track in 48 because we started in N64 Rainbow Road.
So you can see that the Inkling almost just drove off the track. The
Most
CPU
of the time
always does that. We know that the CPU is just going to fly off the track there because they use the same lines that they do in 150cc. So in 150 that would be fine, but in 200 he's going too fast, so he just flies off. Which is really bad for us because that's the exact line we want to be in, so it's really common for people to just fall off at the beginning of Grumble.
Yep. My very first run back to this category, that happened and I felt dumb because I just completely spaced. Just drove normally, but then second place CPU was there with a vengeance, so. Alright, I guess I'll let Jacob or Amber call out time since...
Yeah, absolutely. Only one more lap to go, and then that's going to be it.
Yeah.
Time is on the finish line. and yeah, the world record is a 1:25:57 by Pianist 15.
It's about to be a lower time by Pianist 15.
I'm
Probably.
scared to even ask what it is. Oh
No, you'll find out when you cross the finish line.
I will. Oh my gosh.
Pianist, congratulations on your world record time of 25:39.
39. Let's go. 18 seconds.
Actually, it was a 37 because the timer started early at the beginning of the run.
Oh, let's go.
So 1:25:37 is the new world record for 48 tracks.
Let's go. That was really good run. Thank you.
Congratulations, dude. Man. World record.
That is a good world record. Oh my gosh.
Okay, I kind of got to come clean here. Pianist was thinking he was going to get world record here for a while.
I was, actually. I'm very happy it happened, though. There's a good chance I could have just screwed everything up. But yeah, my lines have been good.
That's a record by 12 seconds. Or 20 seconds.
20 seconds, I think. Okay, good.
Just a casual 20-second world record. No big deal.
Live on the Games Done Quick on the Games Done Quick Twitch channel.
So I have to ask you, Pianist. How nervous were you feeling throughout the course of that run? Because you kept talking about how good everything was, and
not having splits.
Did you realize how well you were doing?
I thought it was a good run, but I couldn't tell because I had splits, and I think that was the key. Because I didn't choke at the end, which usually happens when I'm on good pace.
Do you think your nerves are a little bit higher when you do see splits?
Yes, definitely. Seeing lots of green is stressful. Happy but stressful. Seeing green.
Do you think this will change your strategy up when you do runs? Maybe hide your splits off screen.
Honestly, it might, because I can generally have a pretty good feel of how the run is going. So that's definitely something I can be thinking about going forward. Yeah, speed running is a very mental thing because it's so long. There's a lot of time to psych yourself out.
Yeah, and especially as you mentioned throughout this run, this is an endurance test.
It is
to going through all of these different tracks that you have, and
yes,
you've had to practice all of them and be able to actually execute on this.
There are 48 tracks in this game. There's a very good reason. If you look up at the top of the leaderboards on every category, the only games that the top runners play, the only game we play is Mario Kart.
Yes, this is a game that if you want to be at the top on, you got to play a lot of Mario Kart.
Yep, which I do. Oh man, awesome.
You have a commentated world record now. How do you feel?
Let's go. That is very awesome, because most of the previous ones have had no mic even. Awesome. Well,
all right. So,
Inkling boy.
Yeah, congratulations, Pianist. That is not the end of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. We are going to be showing off some of the different time trials just after a quick break here, but I do want to just remind everyone, this is Game Masters. We try to showcase off a little bit more unique games on this show. So, games with IL, stuff like that, racing games, yeah. We had puzzle games before, so we're just going to have a quick break where we're going to update all the overlays and prep all the different individual level trials that we're going to be showcasing off here. I just want to have a couple announcements before that. Just a reminder, everyone, SGDQ 2020 Online is happening August 16th to the 23rd. And actually, the 3 wonderful Mario Kart 8 Deluxe community members on call with me will be having a bonus game of this as a relay. So be sure to check out SGDQ 2020 Online, August 16th to the 23rd. You can find out information on gamesdonequick.com about that. And I just want to thank everyone here for watching. We're going to take a quick ad break. And also, all of your subscriptions or bits that you cheer really help out Hotfix content. So if anyone would like to throw a sub at the channel, feel free to. Make sure also during this break to follow Pianist15. And we will be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to Game Masters, where we just saw Pianist 15 get a world record in 200cc, 48 tracks. So you thought that was fast? Well, we're going to have a showcase of some different time trials here, and that is going to be
Yes, sir.
really impressive. So,
Thank you all.
Pianist, have you had a chance to take a breather after
I think
after that
so.
run?
Yeah, my heart has calmed a bit. Yeah, we're going to take some looks at records that I'm sure people's hearts were racing a lot more than me when they got them. So we're going to go to time trials now, which is the ILs of this game basically, and we're going to start out with Bowser's Castle. It's actually worth mentioning first that in this game they added both 150cc time trials and 200. So if I press the X button, it toggles between 150, which you can see the time is slower than 200 here. But we're going to be taking a look at the world record for Bowser's Castle first. This is a relatively quote-unquote normal run, I guess. There's some courses where the time trial combos are very epic, but we'll start out with something a little more basic, I guess.
So this is kind of like an outline, you could say, of what the absolute fastest basic strategy is.
Yeah.
Of course, it's on a very hard track with a lot of very, very difficult cycles, using a slightly different build that's more optimized for speed, but this is going to be what a heavyweight time trial looks like, something that you would also see with Roy and Bitty Buggy.
Yeah. The fact that he's using this combo, which is like has even more speed and less handling than Roy Bitty, is insane. And the number of tricks and the strats he goes for here are just ridiculous. Like that wave jump in the trick is
oh my gosh,
very scary.
Yeah,
I actually haven't seen this specific time trial. Oh, and these will use mushrooms.
Yes, every time trial starts with 3 mushrooms.
Unless you're specifically running on the shroomless leaderboards, in which case you can't use mushrooms.
Which is less popular though, and you still have the mushrooms even if you don't choose to use them. But the jump they do there is a lot.
The general theme here is that things are going to look way crazier than what Pianist did in his run.
Yeah.
Because they only have to do 1 track instead of 48, so they can go for all the risky stuff.
They can grind this as much as they like.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that there are people who spend hundreds of hours on 1 track to get a time trial world record.
Definitely.
And that's why people opt for different carts as well, right?
Yes, because it's possible. Oh yeah, and that is the skip that I was saying that I don't do.
Oh my gosh.
It's a variant of what I do, but a little, just a little sketchier and a lot harder. So
yeah, everything about this is optimized for this track specifically. He's doing the fastest possible strats with the fastest combo, doing everything perfectly, basically.
Yep.
So and you really... Oh, sorry.
Nothing, no.
Oh, you really won't see... you won't see a lot of time trialers doing a lot of 48 track runs or even 16 track runs, because many time trialers will only be playing 1 or 2 or 3 tracks for like a couple weeks, and then they'll move to another
that's true.
set of tracks, and like
it's a very different mindset.
It's a very, very different mindset.
Yeah, there's also a bit of a barrier of entry because basically on our leaderboards we require video evidence for a top 5 time. And if you're a time trialer speedrunning this game, you're gonna get a top 5 time.
Yeah.
So you're basically restricted to needing a capture card. If you
don't need a capture card for time trials because Nintendo records the time.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a lot more accessible to do just a time trial of a track. Not saying that speedrunning isn't accessible. It's very accessible. Do it.
Yeah. True.
Almost everyone has the game, and you can use a cell phone to record the footage. So we don't discriminate on video quality.
Definitely.
Okay, so the next track we're going to watch is Twisted Mansion on 150cc, which you can see uses a baby. So this is the baby strats that I was talking about way at the beginning of the run. You're going to see a lot of drifts, way more than usual. These
aren't the baby strats you're thinking of.
Oh wait,
these are
sorry.
fast
I am racing the ghost currently. I don't want to do that.
Don't race the ghost.
Pause. Of course, sorry. Give me a minute. It's kind of annoying because the automatic field is race ghost, not view ghost. So even if I switch between tracks, it'll reset. So I'll have to keep being aware of that. But yeah, lots of mini turbos here.
Yeah. So you're going to see, I think, 4 mini turbos before the first actual turn.
Yeah, there's snaking is a thing. Yeah, it's very difficult to do any of this. And you'll also see a glider UMT, which is much more common in 150, where you don't trick off of a glider, but rather you release the UMT after you go off of it, which you'll see. It looks a little strange, but going up at that angle is actually much faster than just regular driving. I would kind of compare it to like almost vectoring in Super Mario Odyssey, although I'm not 100% sure that like the reason it works is anything similar. So
yeah, the effect is similar.
Yeah, going up at an angle is fast.
If you missed it earlier, this is 150cc and not 200cc, so this is going to be slower, but not slower in the same sense. It's more precise. It's more precise.
Yeah.
Yes. And I just want to highlight something that Jetline said in chat. There is a Roy Scooty time in the top 10 for this track.
Yeah.
Which is a heavyweight combo. So like,
babies don't save a ton on this track.
Yeah.
But it's still
even if
very
you're doing
cool.
babies perfect, it barely saves time.
Yeah. There's other tracks where a baby character saves a ton of time. Neo Bowser City comes to mind. Even on 150, it saves a bunch of time. I remember I switched over to babies on 150 and instantly saved like 3 seconds, which is kind of crazy.
What tracks have inward bike records? Wait like 30 seconds because we're about to shoot one.
Yes. The other reason we chose to show Twisted Mansion is because the 200cc record here uses inward, which is one of the few tracks that does.
Yes, this track on 200 and Toad's Turnpike on 150 and 200.
Yeah, also something I should mention, these distributions that Nintendo likes to put up are totally bogus. Like, I'm 3 seconds slower, yet I'm right on top, which doesn't make any sense.
Also,
and there will be a part 2 to that. Oh, I'm sorry. Did it go back to an even same track?
I didn't see you click it.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
I want to say really quickly that as far as these time trials go, the decisions on like which tracks to show here, this has been a lot of Jacob. This has been a lot of Jacob and Pianist's work. They do a lot more with 150cc and are a little bit more ingrained in this side of the community in the time trialing scene, and so they know what to talk about here.
Okay.
And no, this is not fast. This is done by humans.
Yes, which is crazy.
If you look at the actual online leaderboards, like the top times are less than 1/10 of a second off of each other in some cases.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of people who are all really good at this game and fighting to save like less than 1/10.
That was an interesting startup boost. I think he must have been tapping A lot because it looked like he was holding it completely, but he didn't burn out.
Oh yeah, this player does that. There's 2 ways to do a startup in this game. You can either hold on 2, or you can like hold all the way through and like go in the middle. But like most people just hold on 2.
It's less consistent for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the turn that makes inside drift faster mainly.
Yeah, because if you remember when Pianist played this track, he had to brake drift that turn like crazy, but you can just take it because he has an inward drifting bike. And there is a little corner cut. I don't know if you saw it at the end of the first lap. You can go inside of the little statue. You're going to see that again here.
Yep, it's possible with outward drift as well, but difficult.
Just like that.
And it doesn't save enough for me to go for it. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to view ghosts next time. Next, we're heading to Swamp Ruins with 150cc, and if you, 150. And if you look online, you'll see that the top 2 are actually tied, which is pretty epic.
Wow.
And this is part 2 of how the distribution is bogus, because they're tied, yet they're significantly apart, which is just dumb.
Those graphs mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah, the game thinks this one's faster, so I guess I'll show it. But both of these players are incredible. I think this Japanese player goes by Scary, although I'm sure there's someone in the comments that can correct me on that.
I can check the leaderboard quickly.
Yeah, because I don't know Japanese, I just kind of recognize the names sometimes. But yeah, there's a lot more almost snaking kind of drifts in 150. Lots more mini turbos off of ramps and things like that. These strats into the water here are really difficult.
It is scary.
I tried to learn them recently. Okay, it is. Yeah, Scary is amazing, and so is Alberto. So it's no wonder that the two of them are the people that have the record here. Yeah.
Yeah, a tied record is just absolutely insane. It's down to the 1,000th of a second.
Yeah. It's crazy.
There's actually going to be one more tied record that we show off, but it's not as impressive. We'll explain why when we get there.
True.
So over the course of you three running the game, have you seen any strats or anything that was considered something that would be time trial only that you've adopted into kind of longer runs?
Oh, tons.
Absolutely.
A couple.
Yeah.
The Ribbon Road shortcuts during the ribbon section of the track. Pianist didn't go for them, but that's a time trial strat that I've incorporated into my runs.
Yeah,
and there are also several.
Harbor, there's a jump that I do that a lot of people don't in speedruns, but I practice that track a lot, so I'm pretty consistent at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, as the general skill level in the community improves, things that were previously only done in time trials, people can do them in normal races because they've just gotten better at the game.
Yeah,
it's actually been a lot of time trialers coming into the speedrunning community and like just doing a run or two, and then us seeing all of these new strats that the time trialers are doing in RTA and being like, well, I can do this, I can do this, and just
possible.
slowly taking new stuff.
Do we have time for 3 more, or should I just go straight?
Go for
it. Sweet. Let's do it then. This is Neo Bowser City, which is another baby track, and you can see, I'm not that bad at this track, but I don't use babies, and the time is a little bit different.
Almost 10 seconds off.
Yeah,
babies just save so much.
This track, being able to turn really tightly is important, and so the babies are a huge advantage, even though you do lose the speed.
Yeah, and there's one particular part here that caught my attention when I first watched this, so I'll point it out. It's towards the end of lap 1. But yeah, the number of mini turbos that Soman, who is the Japanese player here, builds up is insane.
And Soman is a god, by the way. He has a ton of world records.
So it's coming up here on the S turn. You'll see he actually falls off the track, but he bumps the post and it puts him back on, which is, I don't know. It would scare me out of my absolute mind.
Yeah, that's just like stupid. It happened to me on mine once actually, and I almost couldn't recover the race, even though I stayed on the track. You just get so rattled by that stuff.
Yeah, I'm very sure that someone knew what was happening though, because again, to get a world record on an individual track, you have to put in a lot of hours. The people that grind these tracks are incredible. Much better than me, for sure.
Oh yeah, they're so much better than all of us, dude. It's just not even close, honestly.
But they can't do what we do.
It's true.
Yeah,
they can't play all 48 tracks at this level.
Yeah, some are very good though. So
that's the difference between time trialers and RTA runners.
That's the beauty of speedrunning though, is you get to play how you want to play. Everyone's got their own preferences.
So yeah, that's a very epic world record. And from there, let's move to, in my opinion, the most epic track of all, Big Blue, which is epic in many ways.
We're going to watch this on 150 and 200cc because they're very different tracks.
Okay, now
Let's
for
start
part
with
3 of why the distribution is broken. These are all the same tied time, and it's also the same 2 people twice. Yeah, this means nothing. It's the takeaway. And again, Nintendo claims that this one is the fastest, so we'll watch it.
So this is a 2-way world record. I haven't actually seen this. So this is a 2-way world record tie where each person has tied it twice.
No. I just downloaded.
You downloaded them twice. Oh, okay. Okay, sorry.
The distribution is broken. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It's just broken.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So on this track, it actually only times down to the frame, which is about 0.16 seconds. So that is the reason why Jacob said earlier that it's in some ways less crazy that this is tied, but at the same time, the strats that they go for and the level of optimization, there we go, is just amazing. This drift here off of the glider ramp is crazy.
That's like frame perfect. You gotta have the stick at the perfect angle. It's insane. And yeah, this track only counts in frames because it's a section track. Like, it doesn't have laps. So usually the timer will count based on like your pixel positioning based on the finish line. You can't do that on this track because the finish line isn't in the same place as the starting line.
Yep.
So the most accurate measurement it can get is what frame you end on.
Yep, and that's a bug that was in the original game as well, I believe, and Nintendo just didn't fix it. But it's okay, in my opinion. It's fine to have a couple bugs here and there, because overall this game is really solidly built, and which is disappointing for some people, because there's not a whole ton of like ultra shortcuts compared to Mario Kart Wii. The Big Blue quote-unquote ultra shortcut is much less broken, but still. That's 150. Oh, and I didn't press A soon enough, so we're going to have to watch the opening cutscene.
I'm excited.
200cc is another 2-way tie, if I remember correctly.
Is it?
I think it's happened multiple times.
Oh, just not right now.
Currently, it's not a tie. Yeah.
Okay.
Currently, someone just destroyed the record. There was a period of time where everything was being improved frame by frame by frame, and then this guy came along and just demolished it.
I would say that this is the most optimized track in the game.
Yeah. This is an incredible run.
1 minute 0.666 is faster than what like the best known splits were for the community like a few months ago. Like
he had the fastest laps of anyone had ever had. I'm pretty sure.
This is incredible.
Here. Yeah, and I love this run. Oh, and also everyone always asks if sub 1 minute will ever happen here. Probably no is the answer, because even though it's only 0.6 away, that's a really difficult 0.6 to cut off, and it's basically impossible with what we know about the game currently.
So watch this cut, because it's unlike anything you'll... Yeah.
He goes on the bottom route, which is not okay. That I've never even tried that because it's hard.
Oh, it's just incredible how we can do that.
The shortcut in that way is very... Yeah, and coming into the end here.
You can see he like almost hit that wall because he's doing everything exactly perfect.
So Doodle AM in chat says that the best known splits on this track are only 1/10 of a second faster than this run.
Which is crazy. Someone can do that.
The fastest possible time as of now is 0.1 faster.
Yeah.
That's like Mario Brothers 1 times. It's insane.
Yeah, definitely. Wow.
Anyways, that's a couple time trials for you.
I wanted to show you. There's a few things that I want to plug related to the community and the game before we go.
Yeah,
Jacob,
absolutely.
Take it away. Take it away, Jacob.
So if you're interested in running this game, which is what you were watching today, what you just watched Pianist get a world record in, you can check out speedrun.com/mk8dx. There's a category for every single subsection of this game possible. You can run a single cup, 16 tracks, 48 tracks. The barrier of entry is owning the game. You don't need video evidence unless you're in the top 5. You can just go and do it right now if you want to.
Don't forget MK leaderboards.
Yes, if you want to get into time trials, you're going to want to go to mkleaderboards.com. They have lists of every single time trial world record, regional time trial records, top 10s. It's extremely accurate. Everything time trials is going to be there. And if you want to play this game competitively, which, yes, exists, go to MarioKartCentral.com. There's a ton of different ways to get involved in this game at a competitive level as well as just a driving level. So I would recommend that if you're at all interested. And that's everything that I wanted to
that's basically the main 3 ways of playing, I would say. So yeah, hopefully all y'all can come out and play some Mario Kart, because it's a bunch of fun.
Play Mario.
I really love this game.
It's an amazing party game, and it's also an amazing just game to play.
Yeah.
And be sure to check out SGDQ 2020 online as well. You 3 had submitted something to that, right?
Yes.
So we are going to be running the 48 tracks run as a relay, with the 3 of us each running 16 tracks of the game. Pianist is going to be running nitro tracks because it is his home, his child. Jacob has 2nd place in retro tracks, and you're going to be doing that.
Yep.
And until Pianist took it from me, I had the record in bonus tracks, and that's where I'm going to be. But Pianist is a much better driver than me.
It'll be epic. But yeah, I'm very happy and excited for that to happen. Sorry.
Also of note, the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe run for SGDQ Online is a bonus run, so I believe there will be a donation incentive for it to happen. But not only that, it takes place on Tuesday, August 18th, and not to take any of the action away from you, Pianist, but August 18th is my birthday. So that's pretty hype for me.
Show some love and get that run out there. Anyway.
Yeah, thanks for watching. This was really fun.
Thank you all.
Thank you all for racing or playing and commentating. I guess it was racing technically, because it is a racing game.
Yeah, it's easy to forget we're actually racing against computers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's technically possible.
I guess. Yep.
You don't need to finish first every lap, every track in order to submit a run. You can submit a run where you get 2nd or 3rd a couple of times. So anyone can do this run.
Yeah, just start picking it up and playing if anyone's interested.
Literally, all you need to get onto the leaderboards is final time, maybe splits. Just go.
Maybe splits.
You can do it.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, it sounds like it is a wrap for us today on Game Masters. Just a reminder, Monday is the start of Ocean Week. So we're going to be having a week of water-themed speedruns, and that is going to be a partnership with the Monterey Bay Aquarium. So be sure to check that out starting Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And if you are interested in any of the Hotfix shows that we have, you can go to gamesdonequick.com/hotfix to submit games or ideas for upcoming shows. So this is us signing off for the night. We're going to have a quick ad break before we do a raid. And thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and have a good night.